What's up, YouTube? It's artisanmc, and today I'm going to react to Star Wars Tales of the Jedi. Now, Tales of the Jedi just came out this week. It came out like right before Andor on Tuesday night, I believe it was. And it's about a six issue or six episode animated, CG animated feature by Dave Filoni. Now, I just watched this all today. I was home sick, so I had some time. So I went ahead and watched this, and I was surprised at how short the episodes were. They only average about 15 minutes or so, which is fine. But the interesting part about that, in 15 minutes, they told a better story than She Hulk did in 30-minute episodes, nine 30-minute episodes, which says a lot for what writing is and what storytelling is. Now, because it's still new, I won't spoil too much of it, but I will tell you that Tales of the Jedi is about stories of the Jedi before the descending of the dark side of the Force, right? Before the Empire came into being. And although the time frame is not given, through the events that happen in the episodes, you kind of figure out the time frame. It happens like right before the Clone Wars, right around Phantom Menace and the Clone Wars era stuff, right? So in this, you get to see younger versions of Count Dooku, Qui-Gon Jinn, Mace Windu, Ahsoka Tano, Anakin Skywalker, Yaddle. You get to see a lot of these stories, and they all center around Jedi, right? Now, the opening story is the birth of Ahsoka Tano. And you get to see her village, where she comes from, her parents, and what events led Ahsoka Tano to possibly being picked to be a Jedi. Now, the one critique I have of this one episode, well, it's not one critique. I have a few critiques, but I'll go into it on Sunday, Shop Talk Live. I'm not going to do it here. But one critique I have is that the child displays some force ability, right? Some attunement with the force, a force sensitivity. And because of that, the elder in the show decrees, oh, she's a Jedi. That's my critique. You're not a Jedi just because you have the force, or you can use the force a little bit, or have force sensitivity. You're not a Jedi. You are force sensitive. Jedi is ideology, just like Sith is ideology. Without the ideology, you're just a force sensitive, not particularly one or the other. And I think that's where I'm drawing a critique with Dave Filoni on this one. Everybody is not a Jedi just because they can use the Force. It's not. It's not even called the Force on every other planet. Other planets call it something different. So that's my only critique on this episode. Other than that, I thought it was kind of cute. I thought it was a kind of cute episode to show how early that Ahsoka showed force abilities, which I think is really early, but okay, she's one. Now, the rest of the episodes, you get to see more of the shadow of the Empire emerging and see where these characters that you know from the prequel movies as being the villains here and there, how they got to that point. And I will say the two stars of this series were Dooku and Ahsoka. That's what the main stories revolve around. Ahsoka and Dooku. Who they were, where they came from, and what developed them to the points that they end up in the prequel movies. That's what it is. Now, some of these stories are taken in little snippets in and around this. That's why I say the time frame is never given. But from some of the things that happen, you get a gauge of where it's happening in time. You get one episode that happens, obviously, at the Phantom Menace era. You get another one that happens after Attack of the Clones. You do. So there's a time frame there that you can play with, that these stories are being dropped in and telling you little bits of it here and there. Um, my other overall critique of the show is that it's very female centric, and I think this is Dave Filoni all the time. Now, one of my emerging critiques I'm having on Dave Filoni is that he does a lot more to develop the characters he created and a lot less on developing the characters that George Lucas created, and that's kind of a problem with me because it seems like you're just promoting yourself as opposed to promoting the characters that George Lucas created in this universe. That's kind of an issue for me. Ahsoka is known to have been Dave Filoni's character before he ever had a job with um, George Lucas in Star Wars. That's Dave Filoni's character, and this character has been inserted everywhere in recent times. Now, why that is, why she getting a lot more shine than a Luke Skywalker or anybody else, I it's personal, right? It's obviously personal. Now, where I don't mind the character so much, I think too much emphasis is being put on this character as opposed to any other characters that already exist in the Star Wars lineage and legacy. It sounds like somebody just wants to play with their own toys on somebody else's dime. That's my critique. Now, does it take away from the show? No, the show is interesting and cool, and I do like Ahsoka as a character. But I want to see other characters highlighted besides just freaking her. I do, and they don't all have to be characters that Dave Filoni came up with himself. That's it. I'm watching George Lucas's vision, not Filoni's. I'm not. So that's my critique on the overall show. But because of that, because he promotes his own characters, he promotes a lot of women. That every episode is a female character, in some senses, checking a male character, knowing more, being better, and the dude characters in here being scumbags in some senses. And that's, to me, that's telling because this is his series. So if I'm looking at Star Wars on a whole, and I get the abject feminism from a KK on one side, and I get the pandering to females in the middle with Dave Filoni, what am I getting out of Favreau? That's where the only masculinity seems to come in. And that's being that, to me, that's a little bit bothersome because the middle version is more subversive. Every male in this is bad in some kind of way, but every female is the leader and in charge. I'm not a fan of weak men, especially not in Star Wars. That's not what I watch Star Wars for. As far as I know, everybody who stands up can be male or female and be strong. Doesn't just have to be females. So that's my critique on the show. Other than that, the show was entertaining. I really enjoyed the stories that happened. They were short, they were to the point, and I can see why John and Dave, for some of this other animated Star Wars stuff, they want to go to this one chapter, one chapter, one verse kind of format because it's a lot quicker and they can get things across a lot quicker. I do consider it very lazy, but I can see why it would have an appeal because in 15 minutes, they told a story that I was completely engrossed in. It had consequences. It had stakes. I got what was going on because I know the world, and I would be interested to find out where that story could lead to. It's a good way of throwing a lot of ideas out there and seeing which ones take root and then following a story in that direction to develop more. It's like a sample platter, basically. That was cool, but to me, that was cool for it. I do want to see things be a bit more focused going forward in the future on some direction, hopefully forward, not just playing around in the Clone Wars forever, because I'm getting burnt out on Clone Wars era material. I am. I want visions of Star Wars going forward past the Empire showing up and past the First Order. I'm not interested in constantly playing around back in the Clone Wars era. I'm not interested in that. But that's just me. I did enjoy it. I will watch it again because it did have some cool scenes in it. Um, I will go into a little bit more depth on some of my other critiques because there is a critique that I have against something they did against Mace Windu that I didn't like. But I'll go into that on the Shop Talk Live on a Sunday. So, like, share, subscribe, support the stream if you feel so on. And yeah, I recommend you check it out on Disney Plus. Star Wars Tales of the Jedi. I will see you all next time. Peace.